And it is another podcast, another Edutainment Podcast with Chad, moi, and my brother from another mother, Dave Romero. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening. I'm well, and yourself?
I can't complain, sir. Can't complain.
Good.
Good to have you. Good. It's only the two of us tonight. Just the two of us.
That's awesome. Yeah. It should be interesting tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nantel, is my mic on, bro? I don't hear myself. That's much better. I think I'm back. It's nice to hear myself in the earphones. If I don't hear myself, I panic. I'm like, yo, where are you, Chad?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. So tonight we are going to go deep into some philosophy. It's a one-on-one.
Yeah.
So I thought we'll go and really touch on some topics that we touched on last week, but didn't have the opportunity to go deeper into. This is obviously the Edutainment Podcast, and myself and Dave, who were conceptualizing what we're going to be talking about this week. And Dave spoke about Eskom. He was like, it's something that's been on all of our minds and something that's really been affecting us. I think today's stage 6.
Yeah, we'll stage 6. And I think we're reaching a point where everybody's just very hurtful. And, I all the time I try to put some kind of a positive spin to it. And even in recent past, they have to do the maintenance. They have to take off units because maintenance was not done in the past. And what we have to realize is that what we're going through now is the legacy of all the looting that took place years ago. So it's not like a sudden thing. And I don't know, it looks like there's sabotage that's taking place, which is very scary. But there's no positive spin on this one. I'm afraid this is just, it's just crazy. And it's good that our president is coming back, I think, from a morale perspective. But it's not like he's going to put on his overalls and take a spanner and start fixing things. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But this has got such a dramatic impact on the economy, and it's costing the entrepreneurs in particular, people that you and I are passionate about. It's really costing them big time. And I'm laughing because if I wasn't laughing, I would be crying, because it's such a travesty of what is going on. And as I said, it's a legacy. It's not just because now this new management's in place and it's getting worse. They've inherited a mess and they're trying to fix it.
I just hope we can fix it ASAP. I remember in 2019 when we also went through this sort of extreme blackout, if I may call it, because it's literally a blackout.
Yeah.
I mean, at night, for us living in the leafy suburbs, we still have our electric fences and our high gates. But imagine, in the township, in many areas of the Cape Flats, imagine a single mother with 3 children.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing. Yeah. We're in the 21st century, 2022, and we're this country that's going through so much.
Yeah.
And we can't keep the lights on. It seems like a basic.
Yeah, it is a basic, but I don't want to get too political, but since the dawn of democracy, a lot of institutions that were working perfectly well has been destroyed. Eskom being one of them. And whatever the reasons are, it's just really, really sad that this is the case. And we need to understand what the underlying problems are, and we need to fix it. And we need to forget about procurement policies and racial quotas for now in Eskom. Let's just fix the damn thing. I mean, that is what it's important. It's not to make a political statement or to prove some kind of a political ideology. We need to keep the damn lights on. So if it's going to take some old white engineers to do it, let's do it. And let's just fix things and then get into the transformation mode. But let's not play an experimental policy when we need our lights on. We need our lights on. I mean, that's just important.
Can we say let's privatize it?
I think, you know what, I believe in a combination of private and public enterprise. So I believe that they're splitting the company into 3 components, and I think we should partly privatize, not completely, but privatize. A very good example of this is Telkom. Okay, so what the government did is it listed Telkom on the JSE, so the man in the street can actually own shares in a utility like Eskom, and they still owned a big chunk of Telkom. So here we have a company that's listed on the stock market that the public can own shares. It pays tax. I think it paid like 2 billion rand worth of tax, and it pays a dividend to government. So you have the Communist Party that's so anti-privatization, but it works partly. Not fully, but partly. Like Telkom, you've got a Telkom which is a good example. Copy what works. Don't try to change things. If it works, it works.
For me, also, if it comes to something that is a human right or something that you can't mess up, then do it properly.
Yeah.
We don't bring politics into that. Get the best. While you were talking, it made me think about, sometimes I feel like I don't have the right to talk about, apartheid in a sense, because I was born in 1991, so I'm post. And whatever happened that time. But when I think back to apartheid, someone always thought, I listened a lot to what people had to say. And, I know this as fact is when the ANC government, when they came into power, they, the leadership changed. And a lot of the expertise that were there as well changed on the same leadership model.
Yes.
It's like we're coming in now, we're into democracy, and these are our leaders. But where are the expertise when the leaders left? For me, it made more sense to say the ANC government came into power, but the greatest minds that were there, that the engineers, the people who were good in leadership, can't we then make them our deputies or keep them in the positions of power, or do we kick everything out and start a new democracy from scratch?
Well, I've actually published a blog on this issue.
Okay.
What we should take is all this knowledge that was forcefully retired in all spheres, be it engineering, accounting, medical, get them out and partner them with up-and-coming engineers and doctors. Partner with them and incentivize businesses to pay a stipend for the two parties so they're actually working as a partnership in knowledge transfer. What we need in our country is to transfer the knowledge, not to kick the knowledge out. And now what's happening is because people are becoming so despondent because of this particular issue, they're leaving our country.
The brain drain.
The brain drain. This is so stupid. Don't kick the brain drain out of touch. Embrace it. Yes, it was because of apartheid that the knowledge was attained. Okay, but where is the wisdom in kicking that knowledge out? Take advantage of that knowledge and partner with up-and-coming experts in different fields or professions. Partner up and give companies incentive to pay stipend, and that is like, say, double tax or something. We call it skills transfer. But no. We have this situation where we've got leaders that just don't care. And this is the problem. Our leaders don't care. Okay, and if you don't care, it doesn't matter what happens to the country. As long as they've got a fancy car, fancy house, and they get elected, they don't care. And this is why this government, I'm sorry, but they have to go.
But see, they don't care because there's no accountability. Because if there was the accountability, then a lot of people would have been reprimanded at a very early stage. And at the later stages of neglect and criminality, they would have then had to face the wrath of the law. But it doesn't get to that.
Well, the Auditor General, every year, the Auditor General turns around and says, there's so many classified audits in the municipalities. I think there's 265. And nothing happens. It just gets worse. So what's the point? You know, if the Auditor General says, listen, there's irregular expenditure of whatever, R1 billion
Yes.
in the city, let's just say city of Cape Town, which is not the case, okay? There's no consequences. No one gets fired. No one gets arrested. So why should they change the attitude towards the situation? And it just carries on. And this is so scary that people don't care. This is why we need to change. We need to change the leaders. And then you have these situations where the Zuma cronies are now rising up again, wanting to come back into power so they can start looting again. And we can't let that happen.
I also think that one extreme breeds another extreme. You know, people say, are you on the left or on the right? Are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? You know, are you ANC or are you DA? But you know what I feel? I feel like a lot of, in politics, because they need to get a vote and because the public, we are in survival mode and we don't really care about politics much. We just care about, in a sense, surviving, that we don't know how to deal with these two beasts.
Yeah, but this is wrong though. We should care about politics because politics has such an impact in our lives, you know, everyday lives. Look at the mess in ESCOM. So it's incumbent upon us to actually make a difference, and we've got to vote, and we need to utilize that vote. And empathy is not going to actually change the situation of the country. We need to go and vote.
I don't vote, Dave.
Why don't you vote?
Because because who do I vote for?
No, but somebody, you know, the thing
You
is
know,
this,
I vote.
the thing
I
is
vote
this,
by opening a school.
no, but the thing is this, Chad, that I believe that if you've got to vote, use it wisely.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll use it wisely. There must be
Dave.
there must be a home you can put.
Dave, I did.
Put
So I'll be honest, this is the first time I speak about my voting behavior. I voted in the last election in 2000 and the last
21.
national.
the national.
I had two votes.
Yeah.
My first vote was for local.
2020, it was
My first vote
2020.
was for local, and my second vote was for national.
National, yeah.
For one party, local.
Yeah.
And for the opposing party, as extreme to the other side as you can get, was national. I voted
Is
for the
that how
two.
you-
I
Okay,
voted for
but-
the two beasts.
but that's
because
your
locally it
choice.
made sense to vote for one, but then
Yes.
nationally I was like, but that's mad.
No, it's not. I also voted for two parties,
But
actually.
isn't that the weird? Just by me voting them was it's
No, but the thing is this, that not voting doesn't solve the problem. Okay. So what happened in the last local elections, people were disillusioned with the ANC, and what they did is they stayed away. Okay. But we need to encourage people to vote. And people say, but there isn't an alternative. There isn't a home for one's ideology. Well, there's quite a lot of parties, and I believe that even smaller parties have got a play.
yes.
So amongst all these parties, I'm sure we can find a home. I must say that there's some new parties which is very encouraging. And I think that they're going to make a massive inroad. And I've said this often, that in 2024, we need a government of national, a coalition government, so and which will exclude the ANC. So I believe it is possible, if we take our ego and pride and put that in a pocket, that the DA and the EFF can work together for the purposes of uplifting our country and keeping the ANC out. That's the most important thing. But politics is a funny game. It changes all the time, and it focuses on self-interest, and that is such a travesty. Travesty that it's self-interest when people should be worried about the population. You join politics not because you want to make money. You join politics because you want to make a difference, and this is what we've lost in our country. Politicians that don't care. They don't care about the poor. They'll trample the poor. That actively steal from the poor.
It also feels like in politics today, the way in which you get into power, it's too simple. It's in a sense that people like you,
Yeah.
and that you can speak in front of people, and that you can persuade people.
Yeah.
and that you are well dressed and well mannered and you fit a certain profile.
Yes.
And also that when you get your 1 million rand plus
Yes.
salary,
Yes.
you know, as being a member of parliament, I think it's 1 point something
That's
million
right.
Annually,
Yes, yes.
That
and
you,
the perks. And
you
the perks.
understand?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
doesn't that set us up for disaster?
Yeah, but I think that people are waking up now, Chad. I think that when people would follow blindly, people are starting to ask questions. And I think it's reached a point where people are hurtful. They're just so hurtful. And you have the ANC going through townships when they're trying to recruit votes. And they drive through with these fancy cars. I mean, what are you trying to say to the population when you drive with a Porsche as a politician?
Dave,
I mean, what on earth is that?
We talk about the ANC, right? Driving with their Porsches in Kailicha when it comes to voting.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about the Queen.
What
with
about the Queen?
with the cullinan on her head, waving over the masses of Britain. Knowing the colonial past that I'm not going to go into, but what does that stand for? It's like, I think it's human nature. We like, you know, we blame politics, but people are so small-minded, or we've been deprived so much that when we see something that's larger than ourselves, that we praise it. I mean, if you look at the whole celebrity thing as well, people start fainting and going mal like it's Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, because I think that
the crown, which includes 3,000 stones and is estimated to be worth between 3 billion and 5 billion, dates back to the reign of Queen Victoria. It was placed on top of the Queen's coffin while she was laying in state in Westminster Hall, and it remained in place during the state funeral on Monday. Yeah, they didn't bury her with her crown because the diamond's too valuable.
they didn't bury the.
But what I'm saying,
but
David,
I mean, okay, so maybe there is a point.
We
have
a problem.
But we need to move on from the fact that that we had apartheid, and apartheid was evil, completely evil. Okay. But we've had now 27 years plus, 28 years of democracy.
Yeah.
And there were all these state-owned enterprises that were working.
Yes.
Okay, at the time. And they've been destroyed. You can't... The fact that Eskom has been actively destroyed cannot be blamed on apartheid or that South Africa was a colony. You look at the Eastern countries where there were also colonies around the same time, and now the economies have flourished. And the reason why the economies have flourished because the attitude was let's better down and let's make this country work, and it's working. But sometimes our mentality is that of entitlement because of the injustice of the past, and there were injustices of the past, and there needs to be retribution. There needs to be, okay, but we can't just sit back and say, okay, well, you know, we've been repressed for 300 years, and the white minority has taken all the wealth, and woe is me kind of mentality. It's not going to work.
There's no time for that.
There's no time. Yes, we need reparation, and there are mechanisms which you can do it constructively, but not in situation.
So who do we start? Who do we start with? Where do we get this right? Do we get this right? Because it seems like the ones, the older generation, the adults, I think it's a bit difficult and a bit too late to try to change their mentality and mindsets. And I'm not just talking on the ones, I'm talking about every socio-economic, every political preference. It seems like a lot of South Africans, we in a sense very cut in our way.
Well,
what do we do to change this narrative? What do we do to now work together? Because you did admit that, or you did say that, you know, that we do need to have talks about, you know, repatriation and things were not fair in the past, and that we are still living the legacy of apartheid, and that things, you know, from both parties, things need to get done. But where do we start?
Okay, so first of all, it's been proven internationally that if you just take from the rich and give to the poor, it doesn't lift the economy. It doesn't alleviate poverty.
Yes.
It doesn't work. Okay, so this communistic approach of just taking and being entitled does not work. Doesn't change things. Okay, so there are structures that are in place, and there's no question there is disparity. And I cringe when people or when big corporates turn around and say, well, let's just bury the past and move on.
Not just corporates, just people
corporate
in general.
People, but I'm talking about the wealth, where
Yes.
the wealth is lying in corporate. And I think this is such a stupid ideology where you just say, okay, well, sorry, but let's just move on. No. But there are mechanisms which can be put in place. I'll give you an example, for instance. Most listed companies on the JSE have got share incentive schemes, okay, where management and directors get shares.
Yes.
The company lends them the money to buy shares in the corporate, and the disparity in the price is the benefit of the managers and the directors. Okay, this is why you see a lot of these directors and CEOs getting massive packages, because if the share price grows, they get a benefit. Now, all they have to do is take these share incentive schemes and give it to all the staff. It's in place, okay? But don't limit it to your executives and your directors. Everybody, so in particular in mines, where you have workers risking their lives in the mines for a very basic salary, give them shares, give them ownership, give everybody a stake in the company.
The system with the management and the upskilling, so they understand what the share is.
Yeah, make everybody inclusive in the business.
Education.
Okay, this is why I talk about social capitalism.
Yes.
Okay, the mechanisms are in place. It's just the will of the shareholders to be able to do that, and it won't cost a lot of money to set that up. It's a once-off item on the income statement when you set up a share savings trust, and once it's in place, it's a living organism basically, or it's an adjacent. It's an entity in itself, but the companies need to do that.
Yeah.
But most listed companies have that in place.
So what's
just
happening?
give it. No, it's greed. It's damn greed that is not offered to everybody. Make everybody stakeholders in your company. That's how you distribute wealth. Okay, because now you've got ownership, right? So once you've got ownership, you'll actually be more productive, because now you're turning around and say, I own a share in this.
What about the education, Dave? Because you give the shares and people don't really understand that. They just see how I can cash in that check and how I can get out of the poverty that I'm in. And
well, this is why we also talked last week that education system has failed. So, when we are setting up an alternative education system, and part of what we're going to be doing is teaching people the advantages of taking the system that is in place to your own advantage. Okay, you've got platforms like Easy Equities, for instance, where you can put 50 Rand a month. I don't know what the minimum is.
you can buy a percentage of a share.
A percentage of share, like 50 Rand a month. Okay, and stop doing something like that. Even if it's 50 Rand or 20 Rand a month. Just start building some kind of asset base instead of just spreading. And people might say, but the majority of South Africans don't even have that. Okay.
I think the education is very important.
It's emphatic. Yeah.
I'm going to go back. I'm taunting the Queen a lot and the whole British monarchy, because it's getting so much good publicity. In a sense, I also want to give it fair publicity. I put a post out the other day, and in the post, I said my deepest condolences for the loss. For me, it's never good to celebrate anyone's death, because that's a soul.
Yes.
Someone loves her.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Lots of people love her.
Yes.
And I mean, she's such an important part of our history, no matter what people say. If it wasn't for the Queen, I wouldn't be alive, probably, because the whole trajectory of history would have changed. I wouldn't have been in this position. You know what I mean? So whatever happened.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, it's also good to bring up topics and discussions that weren't had, and apologies that for me weren't made because, it's difficult to tell people to mourn if they, in a sense, have been put at a disadvantage because of the monarch and because of the autocracies of colonization. So it's fair. I'm not saying, I'm just saying that people are entitled to feel the way they feel, and they're also entitled to bring up, a lot of things that happened, and also ask for the monarchy to make an apology. I think that's very fair.
Well, you know what? During her reign, South Africa became independent. Okay, and during her reign, a lot of the colonies were given independence. Okay, so I don't know. It's such a difficult topic.
Can I just say something? That she actually gave a speech when they announced apartheid. She gave a speech in Cape Town. So that's not really a good thing if you think about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't know. You get what I'm saying?
So
Yes,
the historical fact is that they never clearly supported apartheid, but at the same time they didn't condemn apartheid, because at that time still they were very dependent on South Africa, because South Africa was obviously
all the minerals coming out.
So they never
Yes.
condemned it,
Yes.
but at the same time, or they never promoted it or gave the thumbs up, but at the same time they didn't condemn it.
So-
And that's also the same thing as with the apology, because a few of the royals, they did say that they're very saddened and they feel very sad about what happened, but
Yes.
not one of them apologized.
Okay, but you know what we should do?
You know why? Because
Okay.
you know what? After apology, what happens? Repatriation. So they don't want to apologize.
But you know what
Yes.
we should do is take
Yes.
advantage of the situation.
Okay, what do we do?
So, you and I are going down a journey
Yes.
where we're setting up a structure where we're going to raise funds for NGOs, right?
Yes.
Of which one of those NGOs is our one for education,
Yes.
right? So Kaban, which is my company, we've got an office in London, and we're going to utilize our way we're going to raise funding for South African NGOs is for them to feel guilty
Yes.
about the past.
Yes.
Okay, so my way of looking at it is a different way.
Yeah.
Instead of asking for an apology from the
Yeah.
monarch, I rather ask them to give us money for NGOs
Which
in
is-
South Africa,
which is
which
the
is a
apology.
better reparation
I got you.
than saying, you've done all this evil in the past, which the British Empire did.
Yes.
Well, every empire.
Yes.
It's not only the British Empire. Every empire in the world did harm across the world. So they're not isolated. But instead of asking for reparation, we'll knock on the door and say, remember what happened in South Africa, the diamonds and blah, blah, blah. I think we need a few million rand for this and for that. And that is a better reparation.
We can call that solution-based reparation.
Absolutely.
I'm
instead
fully
of
there.
complaining, you know what?
I'm fully there.
Instead of
I'm fully there.
complaining,
I wouldn't,
saying,
Dave, let's not use the term complain. I would say complain for those who are saying things but don't have any solution, that are making other people feel, in a sense, really, really bad, that are maybe a little bit insulting, that are not willing to listen.
Yeah.
You understand? Or have open dialogue.
Yeah.
But for example, if we are doing it and we're doing something positive, but just bringing up the injustices, I think there is a space for that.
Yeah.
I do agree with you as well that complaining, it can come across as complaining, and it takes a lot of energy. And if that energy is taken away from what you're doing that's good, then it's complaining. So
there's no question. There's no question. I've put some posts up, as you know, I post daily, and sometimes I get attacked. Okay, there's no question that apartheid was a massive injustice. Okay, there's no question, and there's no question that the injustices of the past have not been addressed properly. The philosophy or the implementation of that policy has failed. Hasn't worked. Okay, affirmative action has not worked. All these policies are trying to address the injustice of the past. We have to recognize that the disparity is made worse. It's not improved the livelihood of the poor. So I'm saying that instead of just saying, go, let's just bring in a wealth tax and just clapping the rich and just giving to the poor, is not a solution. It's not a sustainable solution.
Yeah.
We need to find solutions to address the injustice of the past that's sustainable. And this is not happening because all that's happened in our country since the dawn of democracy is that one elite has been replaced with another elite. And that's why.
From one
things are
extreme
not
to
working.
other.
Yeah, and it's just greed and complete, totally not caring about the poor on any level. It's just, look at, you've got civil society, and this is why you and I, we're going to be supporting civil society, and this is why we're passionate about it. But look at Gift of the Givers. Look at
That man should be president.
30 years in the game. Okay, and every time when there is a disaster anywhere, he's there.
And
It's
the man,
unbelievable. I mean, I don't know how he gets around all the time, but he's there.
and he's calm and he's precise,
Yeah.
and you can see he feels the situation,
Yeah.
and he knows how to speak to people.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
goodness
just
gracious.
amazement.
How
Amazing.
amazing was he during COVID?
Yeah,
He was brilliant.
it was like a
the
saint.
organization was brilliant.
Yeah, and what it was fascinating to see is that corporate was prepared to give money to give the givers instead of the local government because they couldn't trust the local government to use the money properly. And this is why our country, why I believe in the future of our country. I believe in the future of the country because we've got such a robust civil society. You remember Section 27 that took the Department of Education to court about the long jobs and won. And this is why government gets so irritated about civil society because every time they take them to court, they beat them. And this is why we need to support them. And this is why we need to raise money for them. Jack.
And this is why we need good lawyers, because we have a great constitution, don't get me wrong. We have a great constitution. The issue is the implementation of that constitution. And also, I always say this, shame on bad lawyers, Shame on them liars. Because if you look at why things are not being implemented and why the crooks are not going to jail is because of these lawyers keeping them out. The criminal justice system is absolutely failing us. But I do believe there are good people there. And I also believe it's very important to focus on law. You understand? We do need heroes out there that can teach people what law is and what their human rights are and how to exercise their rights. Because a lot of people don't know their rights, and the people that do know their rights, a lot of them, they're in ego and they're in power and they use the law to assist them in defending their rights or their wrongs. So I think a lot, I'm very passionate. This week in particular, I have, for the first time in my life, someone who's, assisting me legally because I realized how important it is and how vulnerable you are without any sort of legal representation, and just by me being in company with this person one time a week, I realized that, hey, if I'm taking myself seriously and I really want to promote education, that I need to get a good legal course, not necessarily LLB. Some of the top minds can do an LLB and we'll get them the funds through our NPC for them to study at UCT and UWC and wherever else. But I think just the core basics of understanding the jargon, understanding law is super, super important.
Yeah, and we still got a very good legal system.
Yes.
It wasn't captured, I don't think. While there's always corrupt in any institution. But we have a legal system that works on a certain level, and yet we have people like Zuma where they just stretch it to the nth degree. And for 15 years, this guy has been managed to avert having a court case about the arms deal. We're still talking about the arms deal and having a situation where we've got court cases against it. So it's good to have a good legal mind, but also let's use the system properly, not abuse it like Zuma is doing it right now.
So let's try to consolidate all the issues we spoke about. Tonight we spoke about ESCOM, we spoke about corruption, we spoke about
distribution.
Yeah.
Of wealth. Yeah.
What do we do in a local area on small scale that can assist with the awakening that will lead to overcoming all these issues. Because we have an educational solution, eh?
Yes.
So let's bring this thing to life and discuss what we're doing that will assist all these issues. Because it's not going to happen in philosophy by choosing one party over another. And to me, it's not going to happen at this moment if we're just going to vote either ANC or DA. There's a bigger awakening that needs to happen. And for me, it needs to happen on the grassroots. A reason why a lot of people vote for the ANC, for example, is not at national. It's because their ward councillor that loved the ANC since Nelson Mandela days really believes in the party.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And then obviously they win the votes through the ward.
Yes.
And that's how it takes it all the way to winning nationally.
Yes.
So what do we do on the grassroots? What can we do with our education solution on the grassroots?
Well, I think education is one part of it. Okay, so you and I, we joined forces, and we are going to be helping education, giving practical solutions. But we're taking it even further than that. The work that we're doing on the ground is helping the unemployment situation in our country. I mean, that is critical. And we're utilizing our respective skills to make an impact in that regard. We can empower people to empower themselves, be it through education, entrepreneurship training, finding facilities for establishing new enterprises. If we can encompass that on a regional level and then duplicate that on a national level, then I think we've got a winning formula. But it starts somewhere, and it starts with the mindset, right? One has to train people that from the start that nobody owes you anything. Okay, you're not entitled to anything. No one owes you anything. All right, you need to utilize your own self-worth and a proper attitude and bring out the passion and that kind of energy into a situation where we change the circumstances of the people. And again, I come through to the mindset. We need to change the mindset. The mindset's right. It's okay, listen, this is where I am. This is my situation right now. What resources are there? What NGOs are there in the area or nationally where I can actually start uplifting? And this is what we do on the ground.
So
on the ground.
I absolutely agree. And one of the reasons we actually met was because of the space in Muizenberg that I found. During that time, I found Blask at the SMME Summit at the Cape Race Hotel. And they also needed to expand. And they expanded into the space with me. That made it easier for me because now we could, in a sense, share the space. And that gave me a chance to get started because they already had a track record. And in that time, I found Nantel with Cape, and then we formulated Cape Conscious Media because I knew we needed a mouthpiece. And in that time as well, we started Muizenberg Business Collab where I found you and Gibbs. And now you, as the executive, as someone who has 34 years of experience in the financial game, in the entrepreneurial game, in the dealing with people game, the real life experience is there. So you added such a big piece of ammo to our arsenal, you know? We have at that space now. It's that space has, in a sense, brought us all together.
Yes.
And the next step for us now that we can clearly see is to move into other smaller satellite spaces in areas across Cape Town. And if you look at it, you know why this makes me so excited, Dave? When I was lecturing at university, one student's fees was between 50 and 70,000 rand. It cost me 35,000 rand. Yeah? To kit out a whole class with an interactive whiteboard and screen the works. That's less than one student's fees at the institution of higher education. So imagine how we can scale, man. For me, that makes me very, very excited. You know why? Because what made you excited this week, which is that we're not only going to be raising money for scholarships for the students in those areas, we also are going to be raising money for scholarships for their parents, because parents also deserve scholarships.
Yes.
You understand? And then also for community members who also deserve scholarships.
Yes.
You understand? So it's a whole
well, we're creating a whole ecosystem, and that's why I'm so excited, because not only is it education, but we're going to give people the tools to actually start businesses. And if you empowering people to start a business, they they in turn hire people. And the more people that come off the streets and are employed, the situation with our crime will improve. Okay, so the crime will drop. It's a simple. It's such a simple thing, and it's so irritating. It's so irritating that corporates spend millions on having symposiums. Okay, on how to help entrepreneurs. We know how to help entrepreneurs. You don't have to have a symposium to say, you know what, hey, we need to help entrepreneurs in South Africa. We've been talking about it for years now. Rather use the money that's been allocated for this nonsense. All right?
How many satellite schools would you build with that money?
I would say, and to train people how to be entrepreneurs,
because
to
they come
do
from the
business
area.
plan and to raise capital. And where do they find the money? What do they need to do? And teach people leadership through education. Okay, how to be leaders and to maximize their full potential. This is what we're going to be doing.
Nantel, Dave just spoke about, crime, and when jobs are made available, when entrepreneurs create work, that there's less crime. Can you just pull my last Facebook post, if you don't mind? I just shared this this evening, and the last Facebook post reads, just not that one, the next one after that one. He who opens a school door closes a prison.
Amen.
That's just last night.
Who actually wrote that?
Victor Hugo. Yeah.
So, I mean, isn't it so profound, right? Isn't it such a basic truth? And why can't we deal with that? You know that we got the biggest education budget in Africa, and yet we got the lowest education standard, one of the lowest in the country.
Is it systematic?
Well, no, it's because I think we touched this on the last podcast. Teaching is not a profession anymore; it's a job. And I'm being general, okay, because there are a lot of good teachers. There are a lot of passionate teachers that are out there making a difference. But in the main, it's a job, okay? And this is what we need. We need to have a proper education. And this is the kind of education system that you and I are developing. I believe, we're not I don't want to punt what we're doing too much, but what we're doing is going to have an impact, a real impact in kids' lives. It enables them to actually go in the world and then make them impactful in society. And I think that is so powerful. This is why I'm saying that it's a situation that no one owes you anything. And it's through effort. It's through effort and passion and patience and persistence that you get somewhere in life.
So the effort, the passion, the persistence. Unfortunately, when I go into a lot of school environments, even lecturing, it was very difficult to, it wasn't there. And I found my role to get that there first, and then have to go through the outdated curriculum.
Yes.
The curriculum that didn't really inspire.
Yes.
The curriculum that didn't teach them or didn't prepare them for the workplace of 2022.
Yeah.
A curriculum where there wasn't an interactive whiteboard where I needed to teach them out of a book that they needed to pay for.
Yeah.
That's why I say as well, besides the teachers, I don't blame the teachers, nor do I blame the schools. Because those teachers, they didn't choose a career path and then go into it not wanting to create a difference. I'm sure a lot of them really wanted to be educators and coaches, but they also were part of that system that led them to this.
But I think the good teachers eventually get so frustrated because of the system, because the system has failed. Excuse me. The system has failed completely. Our education system, we have to recognize.
You say it 10
We
times.
have to recognize that it's failed. Okay. So the teachers that are passionate and are making a difference, the system suppresses them because they don't want this kind of situation to be outshined. In particular where teachers actually don't care. And this is why these teachers are lost to the private sector because of the disillusionment. And this is happening also in the health sector, where people disillusioned with the system. We need to change the system.
So we are going to change the system by creating the platform in areas all across Cape Town.
Yeah.
Where do the teachers come from? Are the teachers ones that come through the system? Or do we find the most passionate? Those who really want to give back, that are in the areas that in a sense don't have the chance to reignite that spark.
I believe that while we get this going,
Yes.
and people get to know what we are trying to achieve, what we are going to be achieving, that they'll come to us.
Okay.
The people that are passionate will come to us, like Fagan. You know, like attract like. You know, and if people see that we have a genuine passion of changing the education situation, however small our difference might make, but we're at least trying, and we're at least starting something, that people will come to us.
Because to be honest, Dave, we could do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
If we wanted to make some cash now, we
Got
could have
no
made some
rules.
cash. We could have chilled. I've been off my salary. I could just stay in Greyton. That was my plan. But I realized I can't. I realized that I needed to. You know why? Whenever I'm dormant or whenever I'm not doing anything, the reality always sinks in. I have dreams about our prisons. I have dreams about gangsterism. I have dreams about the worst attributes of people, especially colored people, because I come from a colored area, and I don't use that term to separate and myself from any other demographic. It's just that I kind of feel like it is my responsibility. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not limited only to colored people.
Yes.
But it is my responsibility for me. Whenever I see or I hear Strandfontein, and I hear about kids from Strandfontein, or I hear about Strandfontein High, I always feel like, that's where I came from, man.
Yeah.
That's where God put me.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like when you start at home.
Yes, of
You know, I
course.
kind of feel that feels really, really really home to me. And naturally, we have a tendency to want to help people that we relate to.
Yes.
Especially in apartheid South Africa, in post-apartheid South Africa. I grew up in Strandfontein. There were 10,500 people there, all colored people.
Yeah.
I only know white people recently, you know, in the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing as well.
Yeah, it's a massive cultural adjustment, this whole situation. And obviously I can't relate to what you're saying. I grew up in a middle-class home, and I had privilege. I had access to situations that probably your parents didn't have, and I have to acknowledge that. And I can't put my head in the sand and say, well, it wasn't there. Obviously, it was there. What from a personal perspective, it burns me to the extent that I wasn't aware. I wasn't conscious at the time of the disparity, if you follow. Okay, so, I did my high school, and straight from high school I went to university and I did my articles. But you're not aware of the disparity, because I wasn't an activist or wasn't involved in fighting the struggle. I was just
being Dave.
Just be Dave. And now I think to myself as I grow older, why wasn't I aware? What's the reason that, as knowing the way I am, someone that's got empathy and understands this kind of situation, how is it possible that I just didn't relate or understand? And I think that it's part of your reflection of going through this process of trying to understand. But what I do know now is this, that at the time I wasn't aware, and I wasn't actually doing anything about it. Now I am aware. Okay. And if I see an injustice, whatever the injustice is, I climb in a big way. Okay. So I've learned from it. It wasn't a situation that I didn't care, because I think if I understood the injustice properly. Okay, that I would have done something, but I just didn't understand, and that is something that I have to live with, and my generation lives with, and if people in my generation and my skin color doesn't acknowledge that, then I think that's problematic as well.
Can I just interject, man? You know the racist. It's a loaded conversation, and I think I had a conversation with a gay person, with a transgender actually once on the podcast, and she told me about it. Actually, she was a female, and she told about privilege, man, and she said, I have privilege because I look like a man. Where there's transgenders that don't look like men, but they're transgender and they don't have the privilege that I have. And I translated that to race, man. We as a colored male, I got privilege as well over a female. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
With whites, there's a privilege there as well.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily racism.
Yes.
But there's a privilege that the society that we're living in has granted us. So everybody has privilege. And since that conversation I had, I never use racism anymore because it's such a loaded word. And you're branding somebody that's not really racist, but just clearly just falling into society's norms and
narrative.
and privileges.
Yeah.
So the word privilege for me is better to convince somebody that you have a privilege, because you can convince him that I also have a privilege.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's easier to find each other.
Yeah.
Whereas when you say, no, you're racist. No, I'm not racist. It's just, I think that language is gone. And we should find new language to not just to educate, but to have an idea that at the end of the day, this guy is we need to get together to make South Africa better.
Absolutely.
And it's pointless we are separated. Because look what we separated most of us.
Yes.
So, and it's not working.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I would say it's probably just the privilege that
we can talk about.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I also think that a lot of people are not really racist. I think a lot of people are just a little bit ignorant. And ignorant sounds like a strong word, but ignorant just means that for a long time, because of the circumstance that you were in, you ignored.
Yes.
Because you were just busy being you.
Yes.
So you never really knew when you saw something was up.
Yeah.
And we saw that there was an
But
injustice.
you weren't conscious of it.
But you weren't really conscious about it.
Yeah.
Like me, for example, I know a lot of people aren't vegan, but before I used to, in a sense, eat animals, and I didn't know where it came from, and I would just, in a sense, eat animals. And then once I watched a documentary, and I found out about the meat industry and a sense in how they treated animals, and then I was like, wow, my whole perception changed, and I didn't judge anyone. I just didn't eat animals anymore.
Yeah.
You understand?
But
Because I could see with my own eyes, and it was also my perception. I'm not judging anyone, because do I then call the ignorant person a racist?
Well, that's a very interesting point. Okay, now you open up a can of worms, so to speak, because that's your truth, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you watch something and now you're not eating meat. Okay, does this give you the right to attack me if I eat meat? No, well, that's a very good point.
It doesn't give anyone the right.
Because now what's happening?
Yes.
People that are vegan,
Yes.
and it's their right. Everybody's right. Are now looking at people that eat meat with prejudice.
But see, those are the extremes.
With prejudice, and that prejudice is actually being quite forceful and attacking, and you get some very militant vegans. So isn't that also part of this discussion that we're having, where people are trying to force their point of view
In the
on
vegan
someone
community,
else?
in the vegan community, we have the discussion all the time, because you do get a lot of vegans who are very vocal.
Yes.
You know, because you know what they feel like. They feel like, in a sense, that an animal
Yes.
doesn't have the opportunity to speak for itself.
Yes.
And if you see those conditions that, in a sense, we call ourselves, we in a sense, speciest. There's speciesism going on here.
Okay.
Because, for example, I put a post out recently, and my post was on gender-based violence.
Yes.
And the gender-based violence, the picture, Nantel, maybe you can pull it for me. You can pull it. And I didn't get a lot of flack from it because it's fair. I think it's fair. I never judged anyone. I never called anyone a name. I didn't force my opinion on everyone. I just showed a picture. You understand? There we go. So the picture says no to gender-based violence. Does she have feelings? Just go to Seymour as well, Nandel.
Give me a second.
Just open, but Seymour, you see Seymour, just open up the post. Yeah. Does she have feelings? Yes. So pig, absolutely she has feelings, and it is the female, by the way. Does she love her young? Absolutely, yes. Is she intelligent? Okay, pigs are more intelligent than dolphins, by the way. Yes. We humans think we are the ones with souls ordained by God. With this power, we condemn living, loving beings to death to satisfy our taste buds. Okay, or for nutrition, but also to satisfy, because meat is liquor. A lot of people say, I want to eat meat is liquor. Yeah. To animals, we humans are the evil one that God speaks about in our holy books. If you doubt that, let's build our slaughterhouses with glass walls and witness with our own eyes. So I know it's very loaded, but all I'm saying is that sometimes also we don't have the opportunity to see. If we could really see where our meat came from, in most cases, I promise you a lot of us would really, really be vegetarian at least. So I'm just...
Wow, I mean, that's... wow, that is...
What do you think about this one?
Yes, show me. Kill growing crops. Wait, vegans don't realize billions of animals are killed growing crops. It's silly, Nandel.
No, it's for real. There was a situation where, you drink...
So who killed them?
No, but say
during the harvest.
Yeah.
During harvest.
So
there's mice and rats during harvest.
During harvest for food.
Yes.
So
no, hang on. But there was. Do you drink almond milk?
Almond milk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Piers more.
I think this to all my vegan friends.
He's quite controversial. But what he said, you know how many bees are killed for the production of almond milk? Okay. So the bees also got rights. Okay, but I'm not. Okay,
no,
this is. I can't believe you brought the subject. But not just on the floor.
But there's rats. There's rats in between the crops. Yeah. Monocropping is monofarming is a problem for the world, the soil of the earth as well. Yeah. But okay, that's the whole world's problem. Yeah. But I mean, there is animals that die during the harvest.
I absolutely agree. But the thing is, a lot of these animals are dying, and that's, I mean, it's not right. I'm not saying, but I don't think these animals were. No one chose to kill them. It was done because we needed the grain, we needed the vegetables to feed.
I hear you.
Yeah. But look. Let's go back to the topic. I don't want to go the vegan. The vegan.
I can't believe you brought this up.
We'll have a whole episode on that. But what I'm saying is that, as you said, once you can see something,
if you're
aware of something, then your perception
changes.
Even if it changes slightly, that's enough. It's just that willingness to open the eyes and look at it a bit deeper, and that's most of the argument.
And ignorance doesn't justify the actions either. Yes. You should be aware. But this is quite a head. This is quite a head. My son's vegan.
Yes.
And I respect that. When we go out for lunch or when he stayed with me, we would cook vegan food.
Yes.
I mean, I have to respect. This is what respect's all about, isn't it? The fact that he is vegan. I'm not vegan. Okay. He is vegan, and I respect that he is. I didn't laugh at him or judge, which a lot of people do, by the way. I respected his feelings, and I think this is another topic, right? Our tolerance level in our country is dropped.
It's dropped.
Okay. We're not tolerant in all aspects. Eating meat is also another aspect of our society that is intolerable, and we should tolerate each other, whatever the differences are, not only in meat, in all kinds of aspects.
I think tolerance at the end of the day is the most important. Me as well. I know a lot of people who are vegan who look at a lot of vegans really are living in a lot of trauma, because to them, an animal that they see equal as human, not necessarily in just sentience, but just the ability to feel pain, for example, They know this is happening and it's being done by people that they communicate with and love. So I do feel, I feel tolerance for them as well. But also, I do feel tolerance as well to people in a sense who are eating meat. Because a lot of people they don't really know where the meat comes from. Yeah. And that's why I say the education's always good.
Yes.
And showing things in a tolerant way is very good, because if I'm going to say don't eat meat, you're going to continue to eat that meat. But if I say, Dave, look, this is the science, or here's a documentary, or eating meat less, or you understand, there are many ways to work around it.
You've actually touched on something very important here.
Yes.
Okay. The key is that even though I'm a meat eater, and I don't eat a lot of meat, but I am, I must be prepared to listen to what you've got to say. I must be prepared to watch the videos. Okay. So if I close my mind completely, that's also wrong. Okay, because of many injustices have taken place by just switching off and not actually being aware and not wanting to be aware. Okay. So, we must be open-minded and we must listen to the arguments for and against. Okay. When it becomes a problem, when you bring militant kind of action.
But are the vegans really militant?
Well,
come on, Dave. You know what we can say? No, what we can say.
Well, they painted the Big Ben. So they paint white paint on the Big Ben. Now what
I am milking the us.
You know what the hell?
Fun fact, I stopped drinking milk because of you.
Excellent.
Okay, I do still have milk with my Horlicks at night.
But you stopped drinking milk mainly. And tell me why.
Because of you. And I've realized that we are the only species that drink milk after we're babies. Yeah. No other animals. Yeah. So it's not natural.
And how do you feel since you've been do you feel a bit lighter?
Less phlegm and
Less
stuff
phlegm,
like that.
exactly.
And stuff like
well,
that.
what have you replaced it with?
What?
With what?
Cool drink.
With what? With cool drink.
With cool drink.
With cool drink. Oh, okay.
No sugar cool drink.
Have you noticed, Dave? Say, for example, this is a good angle as well, because I'm talking, the vegans can talk vegan, but a lot of vegans will talk vegan and come across as militant because of the animal thing. Yeah. You know, that it's another animal and you're killing the animal. But we spoke about personal health. And if we speak about personal health and you stop drinking milk, which then saves the animal because of your personal health, that's something we both can agree on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you find common ground.
Common ground.
And the effect of finding common ground is that you stop drinking milk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's...
but my question
the next step is going to be meat, I promise you, because then...
It's starting slowly.
It's working on you. Okay.
What about killing animals humanely, like the Muslims do? What about that?
Look,
what about revolutionizing the farms that we get our meats from? You know what I'm saying? Because I know in the States there's a thing where you can't fly over the farms because people might see where the meat come from.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, the lack of respect for life has actually caused a large chunk of the vegan movement. It's the truth, because I became vegan because I watched a documentary called Earthlings, and in Earthlings they speak about the history of mankind and how we've always been fighting with each other, and they compared that to our relationship with animals, that it's the same mentality. And if you look at it, it's very eye-opening. And then the second thing was the meat industry. And the meat industry, it's a bit of a beast. I mean, if things were done like they were done before, look, I'm at where I'm at now, I wouldn't personally, kill an animal, even if it's done humanely, because I can only do things that what I feel humane is. So it's relative to what you feel humane is. And I'm not judging you. One thing I can guarantee you is 90% of the places in South Africa, the abattoirs and the butcheries, if you see the way how that animal is treated through its life, what hormones it's fed, you know what I mean, how it's impregnated, how the dairy industry works, because what they do, they impregnate the cow. Yeah, and that it's bad. They treat living beings really, really badly, and for me, that is the reason why I became vegan. You understand?
Another reason why I stopped drinking milk is because to keep the the cow to give milk,
Yes.
it needs to be kept in a lactative state, right?
Yeah, it needs to be
So they pump it
producing.
full of estrogen.
Yes.
Now, and males shouldn't have a lot of estrogen,
Yes.
right? For the females, is better.
Yeah.
So that is another reason why, as I grow older, I'm obviously losing testosterone, and now the imbalance comes with. So I don't need more estrogen in my life. So that's why I'm cutting away.
So with regards to milk as well, just an interesting fact about milk. Milk is super rich. Milk's supposed to turn a baby calf into a 400-pound cow, right? So because it's so rich, we have it in our milk, our cheese, our dairy, our eggs. It's in everything. And our biscuits, I mean, it's everywhere. And because of that, we're taking it in, and the body does not really know what to do with it. And because of that, the body then it causes inflammation.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's so rich, the body can't drain it through the lymphatic system.
Okay.
And then because of that around inflammation, you always get a lot of mucus.
Okay.
And when there's so much inflammation and so much mucus, the body can't really flow. It's stuck.
Okay.
And because of that stuck, you'll get your dis-ease. There's no ease in that area because it's very rich. There's lots of mucus there. And that's why milk, is not.
Yeah.
No. This is just a medical fact.
I
research.
can't argue with you, I'm not going to argue with you because I don't understand it.
But he tried
I have
it.
I have to accept what you say.
But it is better.
But you tried it, right? So you tried quitting. So all I'm saying, besides the science that I'm speaking, you went off milk, and that's why I asked you, Nantel, how did it make you feel? Because that's also common ground. It's not the science what I'm speaking about. Because I can also speak about science for my argument, and you can speak about science for your argument. But no one can speak science when I say, Nantel, you listened or you took some advice and you tried something else, and how do you feel because of that? That's commonality.
Well, I've stopped drinking milk in my coffee.
Oh, excellent.
That's
excellent.
pretty much all I do.
And my kids, all three of them, drink almond milk.
Yes. Since you have at least one of your kids, on a vegan diet or who identifies as vegan, has that made any difference to the way in which you perceive?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like what?
No, well, so if I have a braai and I have a piece of red meat, I look at it differently now.
Okay.
So before it wouldn't be conscious. There wouldn't be any thought. Now when I see it, there is a thought. There is, because my son is very passionate about being vegan. His girlfriend's vegan, and that's how I became vegan. And I had to change my cooking, which I did willingly. I mean, I wasn't begrudging. And there is, like for instance, I love biltong, and I haven't bought biltong for some time. And it's not a situation where I say I'm not going to buy it.
It's just
not
naturally.
like that. No, I think when I take my son for lunch and he has a vegan meal, and I don't eat a lot of meat anyway.
Has your consumption, has your meat consumption dropped a little bit?
Yeah, it has dropped a little bit. Yeah, and then when I speak to him, the way he speaks to me is with a lot of love, and he talks to me more not from the cruelty of animals, which he does.
Yes,
he talks passionately about it, but he also talks about the health issues,
commonality
about the meat as well. And so talking about it makes him aware. If his approach was militant, I would switch off.
What is your definition of militant, by the way? I just want to know. If I may ask, in all honesty, was some of my arguments did it make you feel?
No, not you. No, you weren't militant.
I need to know as well, because I'm also a very passionate person.
I think. You see video clips. You see video clips of people that are vegan.
Yeah.
In like say for instance in a food emporium environment where they see someone eating meat out of a stick, they'll go up to that person and shout at them and how dare you eat meat and you're a murderer and this and this, and that's militant to me. Because what will happen is it will just put people's back up and say like, if I'm going to eat meat. That's not. I mean, that approach has never worked on anything. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about, militant. And there's a lot of militant situations in that is trying to put their message across. Like recently, there was white paint on Big Ben, to make their about milk, to make their point across. I suppose they did make a point, but it put many people's backs up. And I don't know if that's the right approach. Personally, I believe in the right to protest, but you protest in a way that doesn't infringe on other people's rights.
So talking about protest, I don't know if I should talk about it on record, but I am actually pitching a protest. It's a silent protest. It doesn't infringe on anyone's rights, but when they see what is happening during the protest, it's really going to make them feel a little bit. It's going to make them feel a little bit uncomfortable.
What you doing?
So I'm going to. There's a model called Anonymous model. You know Anonymous with the mask.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're going to do vegan anonymous protests, where what I told you about the documentary that I told you about, we're just going to show it on laptops and on tablets.
Okay.
And stand in a circle where people can come and they can see and we can answer questions. That's it.
Well, it's a different kind
but
of approach.
But that also, it's a lot. Because I'm thinking, like, imagine someone hasn't seen it. It's going to be very traumatizing for them and it's going to make people feel a lot. But for me, my intention is not to make them feel bad.
What is your intention?
The intention is for them to see what's really happening behind those walls.
To what end, though? What do you want to achieve?
The real honest, for them, it's just for them to feel something and know that that's what's happening. That's it.
Okay.
Well, is that a lot?
Yeah, no, I don't think
Because
so.
what if you all passed and you just had an ice cream and you're on Musenberg Beach and now you see these intense images of what's happening and maybe your kids are with you? Won't you feel insulted?
No, it's
some people
a
are
freedom
gonna,
of choice. No, it's
a fair protest.
Yeah, but as long
stuff.
I'm
also trying to think.
I believe that everybody's got a right to protest because we live in a democracy. As long as your protest doesn't infringe on other people's rights, that's all. So you stand in a circle, watch. But how does that infringe on my rights? You've got a right to protest. But if you're going to stand
and show it in your face,
if you're going to stand a whole group of you, which has happened in the middle of the M3 at 6:30 or 7 o'clock on a Monday morning, and you block the traffic going right back and causing kids to be late for school and people late for work.
Different story.
If you're doing that, then that infringes on my right. I've got a right to go to work on time and to take my kids to school. So I've got that right as well. So your rights should infringe on my rights.
Got you loud and clear. Dave, it was a pleasure. Nantel, thank you for being our
Thank you so
third
much.
person.
Yeah.
I hope they saw you there. They can see a face to that beautiful voice.
I see the back. We've got a
back
beautiful
of your
head there.
Dave, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank
and,
you, Jake.
Very
Very interesting subject.
Very interesting subject. It all relates, man. And it's nice to also go slightly off topic because in conscious conversation through Cape Conscious Media, we're always looking at it from a place of coming together, a place of unity, a place of common ground.
But you know how powerful it is. Okay, so even though you and I might have different points of view, we sit here and we talk about it, right?
And we
We're not
respect each other
fighting
more.
about it. We talk about it. And this is what we need in a country. We need to dialogue. We need to look each other in the eye and talk things through without fighting and bringing all kinds of issues into play and just being human and loving and being tolerant. And this is how we're going to solve the ills of our country, by having these kind of dialogues.
Namaste, Dave. Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.